Well, hello, and welcome once again to the Far From Normal Radio Show. I am Jay Moss, and as always, I have my brother here, Mr. Bud Vino. Bud, how are you doing this evening?
Yo, 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 and hello, my brother from another mother, Jay Money Moss. Tuesday, March 5th, 2019. Jay, here we go again, paraphrasing Whitesnake. As always, Randy Rev It Up Davis is going to be with us. I don't think he's on with us yet. And also, Mr. President, Neil, he's so hot. He's so hot. He's got the ice and snow melting. Mr. Neil Shelton. He's going to be on with us later, Jay. We've got a very awesome guest lined up, Jay. I know that.
Yes, 100%. Yeah, we've got some amazing stuff going on. We'll get into a few things really quickly here. As we said earlier, we've had some login issues right now, and Randy will be in a little bit later. As soon as he can possibly get in, he will be in here with us as always. And we'll have Neil Shelton probably floating in here. But you know, when you're president, you can kind of just come and go as you please. So hey, we're okay with White Boy Neil showing as he pleases there.
That's right. That's a reference to last week's show. Give a shout out to Yaya McLean and Cheyenne McQueen from last week's show. An awesome show. They were great. Spoke to both of them afterwards. Cheyenne McQueen is mentioning me in a comment right now as we speak. Wow, that's a fashion thing. I had to bring that up. And Jay, as we were coming on, I'll give people some behind the scenes. Jay was telling me that he was using, was it your girlfriend's Starbucks cup, right, Jay? And I was.
You know, we've got the brand new Bud Vino cup right there.
Check it out. Show them the Jay Moss side.
The Jay Moss side right there.
And then the Neil and Randy holding hands side. Show them that.
Oh, there it is, right there.
Yeah, there we go. And I was giving Jay some slack. I'm a little Starbucks cup. Look at that. And in the same breath, I yelled for Allison, as you know, Jay. I said, "Baby, can you give me some coffee with some of that caramel vanilla creamer you got for me today?" So I was trying to emasculate Jay a little bit, but I ended up emasculating myself much worse, Jay, right?
Yeah, well, you know, hey, you got to have a foo-foo drink every now and again, I guess.
Yeah, and I said, Jay, we knew that Randy and Neil might not be coming on. I said, Jay, I think we can pull it off.
Oh, we've only done this for what, 2 years or so, but hey, you know, you never know. Let's see. I mean,
it's like riding a bike. We got right back up on it, Jay.
Yeah, you know, I've got an attendee in here, but unfortunately, I can't bring them on because, well, there it is. That's what we were looking for. Let's see if we can get this to work right.
Well, yes, and Jay weaved his magic with the little cute, as he mentioned. Oh, join.
Yes, and we'll get him here on in just a second. As soon as he gets his video and microphone working, we'll get him revved up and ready to go.
Damn rookies. I got to say that before he comes on. Randy,
there he is. There he is, Mr. Randy Davis. Can you hear us, brother?
It's the waiting that makes it worth it. We can see his face.
There he goes.
Yes.
Mr. Randy Davis, folks. Yeah, and we're pleased that he has been able to get on here, and I'm sure Mr. White Boy Neil will be on here shortly. But right now we got Old Krusty.
Yes, Old Krusty, otherwise known as OC.
Yeah, Randy, you look good, brother. Hey, Randy, it was awesome speaking with you today. Randy and I had an awesome conversation. Looking dapper, brother.
We had simultaneous hairdos today too, which is a good thing.
Look at Randy. It looks like it was coordinated like that, but it really wasn't. It was just look at how good we look. Like Apollo, so pretty. Look at him. He's all neatly
manicured. I'm waiting for Randy to break out the sunglasses here pretty soon.
I do need them. I need them. Yeah. Because we've had like 2 days of sunshine in 400 days here, so you need to be a sunglass salesman here. No.
Go ahead, Randy.
Where's White Boy Neil?
I have not seen White Boy Neil, but he will be in, I'm sure.
Jay and Randy, I'm convinced he likes to be fashionably late. Like he likes to make an entrance. Like, what does Stewie say on Family Guy? I don't wear anything I can't take off with a flourish. Like, Randy likes to make that entrance.
Yeah.
The president is
No
here.
doubt he was doing something important. The other day he was taking pictures of moose poop. So you never know where he's tied up right now.
He said, in case you're curious what moose poop looks like, which is Randy, I mean, Neil's like the Discovery Channel. Every post, you never know what you're going to get.
Yes, here's an earthquake and some moose poop.
Oh, yeah. And the road's cracked in half. He's standing there with a smile, riding the moose.
Oh, yeah. I could see Neil Shelton riding a moose into town. I can definitely.
Yeah. Did he ever tell you all about the moose and his first experience there? He's there, and there's people watching him like, what are you doing? And he's over there, and there's a mama moose and a baby moose, and Neil is feeding the baby moose. And then he walked away, and the people were like, he was like, that was cool. And they're like, you what are you, insane? Because a mother moose will kill you over their baby moose. And they were waiting to see him like get mauled by a mother moose over there.
Oh, yeah.
But, you know, for whatever reason, the moose knew he was mentally challenged and let him escape.
Yeah. So I don't want to rip this guy in half. I wanted someone who's arrogant.
Yeah.
But Neil is not bad. So
Awesome. So we do have some.
Neil.
Yeah, we do have some very serious news that we will get to very, very shortly here with our guest. And I'll speak about her here in just a second. But I do want to make one major announcement for those of you who are local in the state of Illinois. On March the 16th, Dads Can Too will be participating once again in the St. Patrick's Day Parade in Springfield, Illinois. If you are interested, please contact Jesse West Sr. Excuse me, he's an amazing guy, a close personal friend of mine, and he would love to have you there in attendance. Dads Can Too is a local support on the very, very local level. They do a whole lot of different things. I think they do like a Springfield Blues, which is like a subsidiary of St. Louis Blues hockey team. They did a night for that. They do some amazing get-togethers and things out there for fathers, and trying to support 50-50 shared parenting. So if you are in the Springfield area, or you're in the Illinois area, or if you're in the surrounding states and you can get there for that parade, please contact Jesse West Sr. I'm sure he would love to have you participate in that. Okay, so yeah, go ahead.
If I could about that, Jesse West Sr., as you said, is someone who he does so much. And I want to say, after the event in Washington, he was the name most proactively thrown out as someone who people had a great time meeting. Yeah. Somebody who was very wonderfully positive. And Jesse puts his heart into it. I've never had the pleasure of meeting Jesse on a personal one-on-one level yet, but I'm looking forward to it. Everyone that has come back saying positive things. He's always puts his heart and soul into it. Proud to have Jesse as part of it. And again, go out there, Springfield, Illinois, March 16th, Dads Can Too.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. So what we're going to do now is we're going to bring in Sarah Crow. Sarah is a former social worker, and she worked with the CPS in Missouri for about 13 years. So Sarah, are you still out there? I know I've got her on, but yeah, let's see if we can get your camera on. If you hit that little camera button, there we go. All right. So ladies and gentlemen, we've got Sarah Crow on. And like I said, she is and has a vast knowledge in social working and for CPS. And I can tell you this, she's got a lot to say about, especially about the state of North Carolina and how they're not doing what they need to be doing, folks. So we're going to be talking about some of these things. So Sarah, thank you so much for being on tonight. I'm sure my co-hosts would like to thank you as well.
Yeah,
Thank
absolutely.
you for having me.
Yeah, Sarah, thanks for coming on. It was a pleasure. We got the chance to know each other a little bit in the pre-show. As I said, just like we're sitting in my living room, right? Sarah and Jay and Randy.
Hey, it's hard for me to hear.
Yep, go ahead and make sure you turn that up. Just a little bit. That better?
A little bit better? How's that? A little better?
A little bit.
Well, you can blame Jay. Randy had the pleasure of speaking with you the most today, and he spoke very highly of you, Sarah. So thank you for coming on and joining us, Randy.
Yeah, it's Sarah. Thank you very much for everything you told me today. And I think everybody that's listening, the viewers tonight, are going to pick up a lot of information. A lot of people who aren't involved in a case are going to be woke up. And a lot of people who are involved with a case, especially North Carolina, because she's watching it personally here as it happens, but it's the same everywhere. It happens the same everywhere, and the same tactics are used everywhere. I just think North Carolina is one of the worst of the states, but the ones that are already in a case, they're just going to be more validated by the end of the night.
Absolutely. Yeah, and Sarah, I want to kind of reference this because you may or you may not know, but being that you have a 13-year background, you said, in CPS, can you explain a little bit for the people out there who are viewing the situation, like say, for instance, if you have a CPS out there that is taking children, you may have a situation where these departments have quotas. Am I correct in assessing that?
They're not supposed to have quotas.
Not supposed to have quotas. Okay. But some of them do, or they at least have a suggestion of, hey, this is how you need to work. You need to get so many cases in foster care, so many cases have to be adopted out or whatever. Do you know about that? Because I've talked to many social workers who have informed me that yes, there's a system, and that's how you get graded on for your what they call performance-based pay, is that you have to have so many cases here, so many cases here, and if you're not doing that, then they assume that you're not doing your job correctly. Is that right? Or do you know? I mean, I don't want to put you on the point.
That's no. So that's actually a fail. That's
okay.
Actually that's how it used to be.
Okay.
And before I say anything else, I'd like to tell Randy that I'm sorry for what happened to his family.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, absolutely. And well, I mean, my thinking here is in just assessing some of these situations that I've come across, Sarah. What is the main issues or the main problems that you're seeing, especially within North Carolina? Is it a lack of training, or is it just an incentive that they feel as if they must get so many people, have so many children in these situations?
North Carolina?
Yes.
So, okay. I feel like a lot of it's a lack of training. They have a 2-track system, investigation and assessments, and they have a hard time explaining the difference between them. They have, what I think it is they're, with the reform going on, the agencies are scared and they're taking kids to cover their butts. So with that being said, like say in North Carolina, and this is different than a lot of other states, but in North Carolina, I could say that you hit me. Mm-hmm. Law enforcement's going to come arrest you. Right. It's probable cause. It's hearsay. Yep. So you're not convicted, but you will be arrested. And with that being said, so like with foster care, if I have a case open, and I did have this happen actually. So we had allegations, and 40 days later, I mean, the kid was safe. There was nothing. Everybody denied. No evidence to support it. 40 days later goes and law enforcement says, well, I'm going to go ahead and arrest mom to cover my butt, just to, she won't probably be convicted, but it's hearsay. Nobody interviewed the mom, the kids, nobody except for me. Law enforcement did not. They took one person's statement. Well, this parent was getting harassed by this one person, and this person kept calling law enforcement. So law enforcement said, after 40 days, said, well, I'm going to go ahead and arrest her. So the harasser sent the arrest to my supervisor, and my supervisor said, remove the kids. Well, how does an arrest make a child unsafe?
Well, I mean,
Good point.
yeah, the first issue that I have by what you said is hearsay.
Mhm.
And so a lot of these children are being removed based on hearsay, or what you would say hearsay is probable cause. Well, okay, so that would be like saying, well, I think Joe Schmo, he had it out for this Jane Doe, and so he must have murdered her because I think that was hearsay. Somebody told me that.
Mhm.
That is not factual evidence. Hearsay is never factual evidence. And I don't see how that would stand in a court of law. However, family court is a court of hearsay.
Well,
That's what our problem is.
well, actually, the problem is social services. That name should
Mhm.
say it all. We're social services. We are not law enforcement. We
Mhm.
don't press charges. We don't convict anybody of anything. Social services was an agency developed to help people, to
Originally,
provide
yes.
resources. So therefore, we don't care what law enforcement does. Law enforcement does their own thing. Law enforcement wants to make an arrest, they make an arrest. If the kids are safe, they're safe. We keep them in the home. And that's the problem, is there's a lack of social workers. They think that I heard a lot of people say here, well, we charged them. How would you charge anybody? You're not the police. You can't
Right.
charge. And also, like, if you have somebody young and they have an abuse, why do we want to put them on a central registry to where they would never get a job again? I mean, it's like we're supposed to be helping and improving, and we want to keep kids safe. That's first and foremost. But if you're a good social worker, you can do that and help rebuild a stronger and safer family.
Exactly. And I think that, I don't know if you're familiar with the Families First Act that just passed through with the Buchanan Act. I think that there's a big differential that's going on, and I believe that there a lot of CPS workers are pretty much scared of the fact that, hey, look, we do this, we're going to lose our grants, our federal funding through Title 4E and everything else. Does that maybe throw a little loop into some of the things that they've got going on with CPS?
Sir, I'll tell you, in the state of Missouri, I didn't even know about funding. They didn't tell us anything about it. Our job was the goal was to keep the family together. We had an attorney, and the first thing he would ask us was, what services did you put in place to keep this family together? We did not violate their rights. We had to explain why the services failed. What did we do? So if we were removing, then we were failing. Our funding came a lot for the mental health part of it. We had to have, that was the trick part, like so many things to approve, like if somebody needed a different placement. And that's because insurance, that actually goes back to insurance, which is a whole nother issue. We took kids into foster care to pay for treatment long term. Like,
Okay.
Like a place would want to kick them out. Well, we had to take them into care and give them straight Medicaid. And the family was asking us to.
Okay.
But I mean, and there's times where if people need help and they have to come into foster care, there are times where that happens. But the family should understand why. And
Sure.
and it's a family's plan, it's their lives. If they have domestic violence, I've heard social workers go and say, you got to get a divorce. Who are you telling to get a divorce? There's 150 solutions to a problem.
Right.
Mhm. Exactly. Go ahead, Randy, because I know that you've got a wealth of questions I'm sure that you'd love to ask out there.
Yeah, and there's a couple things people need to know if they're listening from other states, because North Carolina, number one, when she says hearsay is probable cause, she's talking about even issuing a warrant. See, right now, if I were to go down to the magistrate, and not every state has magistrates, but there's a magistrate system here. A magistrate does not have to have attended law school. He does not have to be an attorney. He is not a judge, but you can go down to the lawyer, to the magistrate at the sheriff's department. You can go down there 1 a.m. and swear out a warrant saying Randy Davis just threatened me with a nuclear weapon. They're going to issue a warrant for my arrest for threatening you with a nuclear weapon. It doesn't matter. There is no probable cause hearing. there is nothing. They're going to leave. They're going to arrest me. This is where that part comes into it. And to put it in real terms, if you recall, Jay, there's a video out there of me getting Melissa McDonald out of jail late at night after she'd been transferred to Sampson County, brought back because an ex placed false charges against her for getting her own kids' clothes from a house she once rented because they were abandoned and the landlord told her to come and get them. But she was under $140,000 cash bond. $140,000 cash bond. Why? Because a magistrate allowed those charges. And what did DSS do? This was all done to try and shade everything for DSS in her case. So Wake County DSS, I remember the judge saying on the stand, well, Ms. McDonald has these felonies and they're extreme felonies. This could take forever and blah, 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 blah. So she says, no, Your Honor, believe me, this is going to be dismissed. These are fake charges. They even wrote it in there. Ms. McDonald is so delusional, she thinks they're fake charges. Within 30 days, and it cost me $2,500 to get a lawyer to get me before a DA, but the charges were dismissed. Now they have to jump on something else. As to the other parts of what Sarah's saying, especially in North Carolina, there are a couple of things going on. It's like Jay said. You've got the Family First Act, which now has to be abided by, which is more in line with what Sarah's saying. She's already seen where she worked previously, which was you have to put the funding toward keeping a family together. But also in North Carolina, Tamara Behringer, who was a North Carolina senator, and others, because of these very atrocious DSS and federal audits and state audits and an independent audit. There were 4 different ones showing North Carolina failing in child welfare and abuse, neglect, dependency cases. Because of that, they have demanded what's called a regional oversight committee. So instead of one county being over itself, which is like it is now, there's 100 counties, of which the county is its own kingdom. They don't report to someone else. Nobody else is over them. Under the new one, because of Wanda Sue Larson cases and everything that's going on with the funding and everything that's went on with the bad reports and bad audit, now they've got it under a regional thing that they have to be audited. Everything has to be looked over. So North Carolina is scared. When Sarah said that, she is correct. There are DSS directors now who can't just get away willy-nilly with everything they've done before. So you've got a lot of change going on here. It's hard to see where it really heads because there was to be a committee in North Carolina established over these regions. It's been 2 years, over 2 years, and they still don't have a head for the committee. So just how serious are they taking it? I don't know.
This actually sounds atrocious to me because it sounds like we've got people that are being paid by the government in order to do a job in order to protect children. But instead, what we have through a lot of these social service industries happens to be people who are social workers who are getting involved in taking children. And unfortunately, it's based on hearsay. And this is a really bad issue when you're talking about a family. And really, the goal is to try and keep a family together. Now, if that is a situation to where, hey, look, mom and dad are supposedly unfit, then we should find a family member that can take that child instead of placing them in foster care. Am I correct, Sarah, by saying that?
I mean, we're not trauma informed in North Carolina. Mm-hmm. So there are times where there has to be a removal. And if there's not a family available, we need a good foster home. We need one that's not overcrowded. We need a good foster home. But you have to look at the reasons why North Carolina is taking children and how long kids are staying in foster care. We're taking time away from parents. And like I said, a good social worker, they don't have to go to those extremes. People want to talk. People didn't want to struggle. I mean, I don't know. I didn't have a dream. I mean, my dream was having a white picket fence, with 3 kids and a dog that didn't shed. But instead, I ended up with dysfunctional and, I mean, it just happens. But I understand the struggle part. And what they do here is that's just like the sex offender thing. You know about that with the CPS?
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
So here's the thing. So if my neighbor, we're not given the protection to the parents.
Right.
And so if you're renting a house from a sex offender, they'll come and take your kid because they say that he has access. You're putting your kid at risk.
Oh, geez.
So if my neighbor's a sex offender, you gonna come take my kid? I mean,
it sounds like it. It sounds like it lately. From what we were seeing, we're seeing a whole lot of children being taken just because a sex offender could be in the neighborhood. You know.
I mean, there's always risk. There's always risk. What you have to know is like nobody here could. I brought up child vulnerabilities, and to bring this back to Randy real fast, there is a child welfare reform. Why isn't anybody answering? Why isn't anybody emailing back? Why isn't anybody taking ideas? I mean, that's kind of what got me with it, because like I've been emailing since before I even became a social worker here, just because I seen some of the stuff, and I was like, whoa, we should be giving parents a know your rights brochure.
Yes.
First thing, hey, you know, we're here. We're just to assess the needs. Here's a know your rights brochure. You know what? If you feel like any of your rights have been violated, here's a grievance form.
Yes.
So you have a voice. You can write that. You know, everything's confidential. We should not be waiting when people are taking kids. You know that you can't have a meeting with the family in the state of North Carolina until after you schedule a facilitator.
Oh, Jesus.
I mean, are you kidding me? Because to me, that I can have a meeting with the family and it's going to go well. And I'm the social worker, so therefore I should probably facilitate it.
Yeah, absolutely. So my question first off, and I'm sure there's going to be a lot of people out here who are going to ask this same question. Let's say you get an accusation and it comes in. And what is the first thing that you do when that accusation comes across your desk? You've read the file, and now you have to address the parents.
Okay.
How do you go about that for yourself, as opposed to some of the other CPS situations that we've seen on live streams where, you know, hey, they show up with the police and they're coming to do a health and welfare check, and the next thing you know, they're snatching the kid out of the house and they're gone. What is it that you do differently?
Well, first off, I'm not the typical kind of social worker, I guess, because like I said, I kind of understand people a little bit, and I consider myself to be a social worker. So when I get a report, I always call the reporter first. It's protocol. We always call the reporter, and then we call the parent. There's two types. There's an assessment and investigation. Mm-hmm. An assessment is to assess the need for services. Does your family need anything? So people used to call them in themselves, and we would help. You know, like if they were getting ready to have a baby, they would call in and I don't have a car seat or, you know, whatever. So we assess the need for services. That's what an assessment is. Mm-hmm. So an investigation is criminal. Anything that can be criminal. So therefore we would call law enforcement to see if they want to assist. So of course I would do that, but I never like to call the parents because I don't want to stress somebody out. You know, it wasn't because I wanted their house clean or I wanted to catch them doing anything wrong. It was because I didn't want to call a mom getting ready to give birth at a hospital that I got a report on if I couldn't get there that day. She'd be worried and stressed out. But anyways, so we had to, so I would call and I'd always explain, I'm not here to stress you out. That's first and foremost the last thing I want to do. Nobody likes us showing up. Mm-hmm. And I'd get there and I listen. And that's probably what I do different. I listened. I didn't do accusations. If a mom had a domestic violence and she just got hurt from her husband, I wasn't worried about dirty dishes. If there was an infant death, I'm not going to go to that house and take those other kids that are 12 that can't die of SIDS anyways and you know, remove them and traumatize them and then tell the mom, by the way, you got some clutter up here by the front door. I seen that here. Mm-hmm. I mean, and the thing is that the people didn't know. The social workers didn't know. They said, you know, I got into houses here that other people couldn't get into. And they would send me. And I was like, man, why don't you guys try being nice? You go there with your suits. You know, you try to intimidate. Mm-hmm. You're not the police. You're a social worker. You assess the need for services and make sure everybody's safe. And safety, here's the thing with also that I've noticed, is there's well-being and there's safety. They're the same. You can have physical safety, but your well-being is emotional as well. And if you're not emotionally safe, then you're not safe either. And your well-being starts in the structure of your own family.
Mhm.
People have the right to be parents. Kids have the right to have a parent.
Right.
We're shattering families when there's no imminent risk at all.
Yeah,
And
I'm absolutely 100% glad that you said that, because there's absolutely a difference, and I think that there's a lot of people that don't necessarily understand. Okay, I may not like judges, but there are some good judges out there. I may not like attorneys, but there are some good attorneys out there. Well, guess what? I may not like social workers, but there are some good social workers out there who are trying to put families first and just trying to protect the children. And I know that there are, for sure, Randy, I'm going to get with Randy on this one, because I know exactly what's brewing in his mind on this one. But we actually have some people out here who are promoting people as advocates, who really are not necessarily advocates, who have criminal backgrounds and histories in being pedophiles. To me, that's a bad assessment if we are promoting people that have these criminal backgrounds or histories with CPS, or have had their children taken away because of this. When this is on an investigation and someone is found guilty of being a pedophile, Sarah, and they've had this criminal investigation and they have taken a plea, okay, and that plea was taken because they were trying to reduce their time, okay, is there any way that a social worker would say someone who is a pedophile can reform, that they can change from what they were and now suddenly be allowed to be around children?
I've only met one real pedophile in all my years, and he wouldn't have reformed, and he wouldn't have been ever safe around kids, and he knew that about himself. But I think, they're there and they're around him every day, and I don't think that, like, I would hate to judge it because I don't know what somebody would mean as a pedophile. My guy was a pedophile. He was in love with a 9-year-old over the age of 9. He lost interest. That's how, and he admitted it. So it just depends on, because I hear that a lot sometimes. Like, if it's somebody that's 40 years old and he was grooming this kid and he thought that over the age of 9 was an adult, then yeah, absolutely. And no, there is no reforming, because you don't make that choice. Nobody wakes up in the morning and says, you know what, I want to be a pedophile today.
Right.
Nobody, I mean, they don't.
Right.
It's almost like and if you think about it, nobody does. I mean, so it's kind of one of those, how do you reform? That's what you're attracted to. You have hormones. You're going to act on them. Who doesn't? I mean, I think it's like, I'm like, oh my God, I'm never going to do this stupid thing again. And then the next day my hormones kick in. I'm doing the same stupid thing I did the day before when I knew better. So no, they don't reform.
Yeah. And Sarah, there's a reason Jay is asking that. And it's like this. Today I found out all about you because, attorneys who fight CPS, okay, Rosie Vincent's group, that is a good group, but there are some large groups. There's a large group out there with an attorney who runs it, and this is a family law attorney, and the other group is just this loudmouth woman, but she has a big following, or used to anyway, out of New York. But both of these have decided, and when I tell you this is because when you said, when Jay asked, is there a way that they reform? You just had this weird look. But these two groups are promoting two guys. There's a third, but one of whom, this man, Brian Robertson, was convicted in Guilford County, North Carolina. He's associated with Ulster County, New York. But we pulled his stuff. He confessed and pled guilty because he was facing crimes against nature, rape, and indecent liberties with a minor. So what does he do? He takes a plea to indecent liberties with a minor, and that minor was his own child who was 18 months old that he had sex with, and a 2-year-old who he had sex with. And these other advocacy groups, the guy has written a book and blurbed about them in it. And we are telling people, look, any advocacy group who you want to follow is your business, but you deserve to know this man pled guilty to keep from getting a larger sentence and served 10 years in a federal prison in North Carolina, or North Carolina Department of Correction, 10-year sentence, and has current charges right now revolving around children, current charges, and they are promoting him. So that's why Jay was bringing it out, because there are some weird, and to me, they're not going to reform. And if I caught them around my child, no one would have to reform them ever again.
Right.
There is nothing hideous. There is nothing too hideous that I can think of to be done to anybody who would harm a child like that, whether it's their own child or not. And these are just some sick monsters. So we understand there's a need for DSS out there, but the issues we're talking about here, is that everybody's not good like you, Sarah, and they will come in and they'll do things without exigency. And that's one of the things I wanted to get to with people, and have you explain what exigency and imminent harm, what that really means. When they're going to take a child due to exigent circumstances, what are they supposed to do directly following the exigent circumstance?
Okay. Well, you just brought up a whole bunch of stuff.
Sorry about that.
No. So here's the thing with the pedophile, though. I worry sometimes what evidence they are bringing for these people and who are taking pleas, just for the fact that with what I've seen, it's not hard to catch a charge here. I will say that. Again, that's the law enforcement part. I'm like, whoa, you're going off of that. But anyways, so
CJ Abernathy knows that. No,
Huh?
CJ, a guy named CJ Abernathy from South Dakota, he was coming here. He was going to be in Onslow County. Okay. And I try to warn him, you can be loud on Facebook, but when you come here, that's the same district that Sampson County's in, and the same judges, and you'll pick up a charge. I don't know. I won't pick up a charge. And look, I think the world of him. He picked up 4.
Yeah.
No kidding. You're
My boyfriend
right.
ever makes me mad, he's done in North Carolina.
Yeah, you just go bury him with anything you want to say. He's done.
Yeah, that's what I mean. He breaks up with me, his life's over. He's going to jail. I'm playing. I'm playing.
I think she'd do it.
So,
I think she'd do it.
I think she might.
She'd do it.
Anyways, so to go back with what we look at, so what I would love to see happen in North Carolina is signs of safety. Signs of safety is for the family. It is the family. It's when we go somewhere, if we have a little bit of a concern, then we meet up with the family, and it's a positive way to do things. So what's going good? And you hear, and you hear the parent, they're like, man, nothing. I can't think of nothing. Man, you showed up. Any parent that shows up, they're doing good. All right. You got faith in them. And also it's their plan. What are we worried about? And what can we do to resolve it? So there's child vulnerabilities, and I'll explain those first. When I go to a house, so say we'll make it an easy one. We'll make it an unsanitary household. Okay. So I have a 1-year-old and a 2-year-old, and then a 11-year-old in the home. The 1 and the 2-year-old, they don't go to school. They are living in clutter. Something could fall over on them. They could break their leg falling over something. They're crawling around in dog crap, right? The 11-year-old, he's kind of old enough to where, well, he goes to school every day, so we know he's being fed at school. He's got a cell phone, so he's able to self-protect. talked to him. He said he could clean up. He's got chores. He just hasn't done them. Right.
Okay. Mhm.
So I talked to mom. So the vulnerable kids are the 1 and 2 year old. They're not verbal. They're not visible. They need somebody to protect them at all times. So what I'm going to do is there imminent risk? Well, I mean, they could fall over on something, or being the social worker I am, I could help mom clean it up real fast.
Mhm.
There's always 2 ways to do things.
Right.
Now, depending on who else you are, you could go there and you could, take emergency custody, saying that 1 and 2 year old isn't going to be safe in that house.
Right.
So imminent risk is something that child is in immediate danger right now. Or sometimes it's not even that, they're in immediate need of care. So mom and dad are getting arrested. They just had a car accident. We'd have to take that child into care just because there's nobody else to get them. That's imminent. That's immediate. Something has to be done right then.
Right.
And then you have exhausted efforts. So what that is say I go and I got two people using heroin, and they had a baby, and they keep nodding off, falling asleep, right? So I open up a service case. I do investigations, but I'm going to go ahead and open up a service case. That way somebody could be there more, put more time in on this family. And so they started doing treatment. They started doing everything. So for a year, they've been working this case. Well, here next year, I get another hotline on them. Mom nodded off while the baby was down by the water. Baby got out of the house. He's only not even 2. He's walking by the water. I'm going to remove because we need a judge to say and order this, because I mean, we got some family, and the family's great, and I'm going to place with the family member. But guess what? Mom is that the only child. I got to worry about the whole family at this time, because I know that this is going to kill mom, and then that baby's going to live the rest of his life without a parent.
Right.
That's my justification for it. So I want to be able to create that. Like, I want to help them do that. And sometimes in order to do that, you have to be a little more forceful with it and let them know, like, no, this isn't just, I'm going to, remove like the safety plans here. Did you see that? Roll my eyes. Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
Those aren't legal. To say somebody has to keep a kid for 30 days, that's a huge violation of rights. Those temporary safety providers, it's your plan. You're doing that. So the parent says, hey, my kid can go here. If the parents are saying the kid's safe there, why are we doing a temporary safety? We don't have custody.
That's a big issue too, Jay. These home safety assessments, which lead to the safety plan, they literally say on the back page now in North Carolina, they say, although you have signed this, you don't have to sign it, which they'll always demand you have to sign it, to make you think you've done something.
And initial.
Yeah, and
initial 17 pages.
And it literally says right there, because now it's down to 4, and then you get the plan later. But it says you don't even have to sign it. And even if you did sign it, because they're having to base it off federal law. So they're having to tell people now, even if you do sign it, the back page is a page where you can renounce your own signature. You can just make like it never happened whatsoever. Because that was the first thing they said to me when they pulled me over, and I had no idea who the people were. Well, you signed a safety plan with Cumberland County, another county. I'm like, who? No, I don't even know what that is. I did not. So, and that brings me to another question here, Sarah. The night that they started my stuff, which mine was retaliation, I had already contacted my brother and my cousin, who lived considerable ways from me. But I knew what they were doing because they had been in my house and did 5 welfare checks in 40 minutes. 5 welfare, cops only. And I live up a 1/4-mile driveway on the farm in the woods. So I called down there and said, hey, what are y'all doing here? Why are you here? And I knew it had to do with the sheriff and the senator who I'd wrote articles on. And, you need to stay there. There's a unidentified agency coming to see you. I said, like hell they are. And I got out of here and ran to a subdivision, and this one cop is following me, and then he says he pulled me over because he was told to. So while they're holding me for 3 hours, waiting on social services to get there, who I don't even know, we're filming the whole time, posting it the whole time. We're like, what are they going to do next? So these guys show up, no badges, no nothing. But my brother and my cousin are right there. You know, they would never place my daughter, and she was 2 weeks from being 16 and very articulate. They would not place with family. They would not let her talk to family. She was a National Honors Award winner. I had full custody. Her grades, her lowest grades, they were all honors, and it was a 96. She had had a wellness exam 2 weeks prior, and she saw a therapist once a month along with me because of things happened with her mom years ago, which had nothing to do with anything. It was just, we liked therapy. We enjoyed going.
Your daughter was 16.
2 weeks from 16. Yeah.
Okay. So that's almost like, so 16, like child vulnerabilities.
Yeah. What was the vulnerability?
Right.
And they never said. They never gave me a case plan, though. Never did they give me a case plan. And my therapist, you'd have to understand it, but Cheyenne's very smart, and she laid it all out there. It infuriated them. She used to do a radio show with us because she understood the laws. She learned them really quick when she had to, and she just spewed them right back at them. The way we got things turned around was that I managed to get her a phone to her where she was with a tracking device on it, and tracked her one night, and the GAL had taken her into Fort Bragg, North Carolina, beside the strip clubs, and was taking her at 16 into a strip club to play music. And when they left from there, I tailed them to another bar in downtown Fayetteville, East Fayetteville. And when they left from there, because they couldn't get into either one, because something happened with the fire marshal at the second one. It was called the Drunk Horse, and the first one was the Rock Shop. These are strip clubs right beside them. It's bad. And I caught them at a what's the name of it? Not Checkers, but Cookout restaurant, and just busted all up in there on their rear ends. And the next day, she was with my kinfolks. And then within 2 weeks, I had an order returning her to me. But then they just kept hounding us. But the point was, they never considered kinship placement to my brother, my cousin, nobody, and wouldn't let her talk, wouldn't let her go to her own therapist, and kept her out of school so she wouldn't talk.
I'm still trying to figure out why they would take a 16-year-old into foster care, especially when they go to school and they're in therapy. That's just the silliest thing.
Because it was Randy Davis's daughter, and they had to shut Randy Davis up. The same reason that there's a leg monitor on Melissa McDonald, but she can go anywhere she wants. She can drink alcohol. She can do drugs. She doesn't do either, but there's no restrictions. It's a GPS tracking device. Same reason the sheriff pinged to my phones and then admitted it on hidden camera. Same reason he killed my dog and cat, because I was exposing USDA fraud, NAHASTA fraud, and fraud within North Carolina government, especially Sampson County. That's why they did that to me. That's a different situation. But how do they, I'm seeing it done to several people. And I'm seeing, this is something I wanted to bring up. And I know Bud's chomping to get in here. But the other night we had Karen with us on. And Karen made the law, Karen's Law in Pennsylvania, and it had to do with domestic violence. But this is a big issue that's happening in North Carolina especially, and I see it in other states. But they're taking women who, they're in domestic violence situations, but they finally get the courage to leave. They leave with their kids. Where do they go? They go to DSS. When they go to DSS, DSS turns them from the victim into the perpetrator, and then takes the kids, puts them in foster care, and then it gives no help whatsoever to the mother, and claims that the mother had them in an injurious environment, which is neglect. And then it just keeps going forever and ever and ever and ever.
Right.
You are, with that, I actually had a case with domestic, and I was scared to go back and tell my supervisor, because the mom did nothing. She did nothing wrong. She was protecting, but they didn't give choices to these parents. And I went back to let him know, and I was really kind of cautious on what I said. And she said, oh, well, if there was domestic, she needs to go to a shelter, or, you know, I don't care. She has to get out of there. No. Like you can't make somebody do something as long as they're able to protect her or their services, or they make them go back, or they force them to go back, or they take the kid, because then they're in a homeless shelter,
Mhm.
you know, and it's like, you know, and I was terminated working here because there was 2 cases where I refused to remove. And you know, I followed federal law, and I followed our policy, our mission statement, which is to keep families together. And
Which county were you working in when you were terminated?
excuse me?
Which county?
Pender.
In Pender.
Yes. And I'm fighting it. I actually talked to somebody today. I have the proof. I asked for help on a case.
Mhm.
I thought that it was biased. I thought that we weren't doing things by policy, and I felt like this parent needed support, or maybe somebody else, because I knew what was going to happen. And after I emailed the director, it was 2 days. No, the next day is when I was told to take custody. And I had to think, like, I have my own son to support. You know, I was in my own custody battle. And so I sat there and I cried for a while, because it was like either or. The one thing that I am good at is being a social worker. And if I did that, I wouldn't be a good social worker anymore.
And here's a little tidbit for you. But tonight you'll see me arrested in a video. When you watch those videos, there was my DSS whistleblower was with me for the article. She didn't work for CPS. She worked for Medicaid. But what it was is I was writing about Sampson County. Was what they were doing is they were fast tracking Medicaid applications and rubber stamping them because they weren't within audit, and they didn't recertify. So they just restamped them as though they recertified them. So what they did is they took her son and my daughter at the same time and fired her. So when it comes to dealing with administrative office of the courts and filing your complaint with them, I know exactly how to do it and exactly what they'll do to get around you making it win. But that's something we can talk about at a different time.
Well,
Yeah.
you know, and speaking, before I forget, like, something else that amazed me here kind of was with Medicaid, we would get referrals in where, say something, you know, like a tragedy happened to a family. And the first one that I got, I offered, you know, tried to help with housing and stuff. And they told me, they said, no, all that you do with this is find out if they have Medicaid for the medical. And I was like, but they're needing help. Well, no, but that's what we get our funding from.
Yep.
So we're
There it
only
is, Title IV.
Yeah,
Yes.
and I was like, wait. When they review these, they would want to see that we try to give every service possible to help these families. Oh, we don't have to. It's just the Medicaid. And I'm talking, like, you know, with kids being hurt and stuff, and they needed that therapy or help with housing. And they told us, no, don't document it, just for the Medicaid part.
Damn.
Mm-hmm.
So
That's exactly right. The other thing that I want to touch on, I'm sure Bud Vino would love to touch on, is how you have gone through this and still had such and remained with such a positive attitude. Because I you know, the things that I've seen on your Facebook and everything else, I mean, you still seem to be a very, very positive, uplifting type of person. How do you keep yourself up after, you know, seeing that, you know, you have to do this job every single day, and that it can, you know, kind of be depressing at times, obviously?
I met some of the best people in the line of work that I do. I learned from everybody and hope that, you know, they got something from me. But I always felt like a good social worker is either going to give hope or shatter it. And I never wanted to shatter hope. And I think that, like I said, when I came to North Carolina, like, people reached out that, you know, in Missouri. I mean, I've had a good relationship. Even if I removed, I had a good relationship with that family. And I think that, and not just that, but some people think that they have it bad, like, to be somewhere without a support system. I work with families that don't have a support, that don't have anything. And I'm expecting them to do something. And then I get upset because I had a bad day, you know? So, like, a lot of respect for the people that I do work with. I mean, we work for the people. I represent the agency, but I work for the people. The clients that I work with, they're my employers.
Right.
And that's how that's what needs to change.
Yeah, I agree with you wholeheartedly, Bud. I don't know if you want to jump in on that or not. Yeah.
Sure, brother. First of all, again, Sarah, thanks for coming on. It's been great already. very informative, this angle. As we've talked about before, Jay, this is an angle we so desperately needed on the show, and seeing it here tonight. As I was listening to Sarah and you and Randy, Jay, I was thinking about I'll give a shout out to Chief Chris Purley, Jackson Police Department. He's a great guy. And Chief Purley, back before he was a chief, was one of my instructors at the police academy. And in thinking more about that, I thought about what they say in law enforcement. When law enforcement was first conceptualized and first became a thing, it was, I think, much like why people get into social work, or at least did. Law enforcement was proactive. Unfortunately, now it's reactive. And I think it's the same for social work. You get into it with these great intentions, and you're so overburdened and overloaded. That's what you don't generally anticipate. And also, as Sarah had mentioned, the stressful situations that you're in, it's the same with law enforcement in the sense, and we've talked about it, Jay, it's very akin to what we say on the air. You don't know until you get on the air. It's just like in stressful situations with law enforcement, social work. It's all dependent on the person. Until you're in the fire, you don't know how the person's going to react. And a lot of times, again, it's no longer proactive. I think that's what would be ideal in law enforcement, social work. But unfortunately, because of the sheer number, it's become reactive. And that's something that this was 20 years ago, and it was already that way, and it's only gotten a lot worse. So I think when you have people with enormous caseloads, whatever the field, social work, law enforcement, whatever it is, and you become reactive, and it starts becoming a job as opposed to a passion, and those sort of things. And then and what happens too is training becomes lax, training becomes less. There's such a influx and need for people to be out on the street quickly. And you have people that react in situations they're not trained yet to react, to be able to react in the proper ways. You see it in all walks of whether it's law enforcement, social work, what we've talked about. And so that's what I was thinking. I think that's one thing people get into it. Hopefully, I like to believe most people get into these things for the right reason. They want to, as our gracious guest said, they want to do the right thing. They use their heart. They want to do that. And unfortunately, along the way, sometimes people, the ideals and the ideas they had in that job are shattered, and they start to become bitter. And people are easily corrupted when they get bitter, especially, or disgruntled with their job or whatever it is. So that's, I guess, the good question. How do we, Sarah, combat this? What, in your opinion, is going to get this on the right track in terms of social work as a whole? What do you think the biggest problem is that can really right the ship and get social work and CPS things on the direction that it was meant to be on?
Oh, that's such a good question. Okay, so first off, what you said about when you come in and you start to feel like it's a job. When I first started, I wasn't really for reunification. Okay. I was actually I came here twice, and I'm doing it like I was done with it, because I thought if you loved your kid that much, you wouldn't be in this situation that you're in. But then I realized after working with people and doing it, I'm not taking the time. And I had the highest caseload. I was lead investigator in the state of Missouri. People don't want to struggle. People don't want to, they want to do well. And parenting sucks. It's the hardest job you're ever going to do. 7 years ago, I told people how to raise their teenagers, and then I got my own, and I didn't know what to do. And to put glue back, you can glue. Nothing's permanent except for really bad STD or death. But other than that, anything can be fixed. And that's what we forget when we go in. You think that so I went to jail. And that's probably where I learned the most I would ever learn. I had a mom in there who was a heroin addict. And she told me that CPS, I don't know if I messed up or if you guys did.
No, we're good.
Okay, I didn't see you. So anyway, she said that my agency was stupid. And I was like, well, elaborate. And she said, I'm a heroin addict. And I said, okay. She said, you guys took my kids. She said they were in foster care for 2 years. She said, I wanted them to be adopted. She said, but the caseworker said no reunification. See, actually reunification gets you better numbers. That shows good in your agency. When you can't reunify, that shows negative. So she said they wanted to reunify. She said, so I went to court once and I got a house. She said, I got my kids back. She said, I had another baby. She said, I'm a heroin addict. And I said, okay. And she said, so I relapsed. She said, they came and took my kids, put them back in that foster home. She said, this time I wanted to work a case plan because the only person that would come and see me in jail would be my caseworker. And I said, all right. She said, got my kids back. She said, you know, here I am again because I'm a heroin addict. She said, so 3 kids. She said, the foster home that I wanted to adopt, she said they were heartbroken, wouldn't take my kids. And I said, well, what do you think we could have done different? And she said, well, she said, the caseworker kept saying, if you love your kid, you'll change. And she said, you know, I had kids, somebody would love me. And she said, but most of all, she said, I waited for somebody to ask me if I was okay. And that's when I kind of thought, that's when I think I probably changed more for social work, is it did suck not to hear that nobody asked if you were okay. We went there and wanted answers. You on drugs? You on, you know, what are you doing? When we should have been asking more and getting more in depth with the family. And I think that they have to redirect, and if they wanted to get on a good thing, is they got to teach people to start listening. You're not the police, you're not anything, you're a social worker, which is to help people. You see somebody broke down, you help them on the side of the road. Somebody with a drug problem, they're not bad. Most of the people on drugs are the coolest people I know. I hate it when they think that just because they're on drugs, I'm going to think they're bad. So it's crazy how you evolve and do something different. They need to train like signs of safety, and they need to let people know that parenting is a tough job.
Yep. Yeah.
And you're not going to do it perfect. And we have people that don't have kids social working. Man, let somebody without kids come to my house as a social worker. Or bring a camera in my house. Are you kidding me?
Right.
If a kid has bruises, you call the cops or something. Don't come in my house trying to take pictures. I mean, they're crossing so many lines with that I can't believe that it's even allowed, or that people have allowed it. You know, that's something I would never feel comfortable with. And not helping. You're going to boss me around and not show me how? Some people don't know. We're dealing with stuff that people don't know. I mean, if you don't learn it, how can you, you know, demonstrate it?
Exactly. And some of, you know, I'm going to go ahead and play your video real quick. But I will elaborate on another question, because I'm sure that there's a lot of people out there that are going to ask you this same question when I come back here. But I'm going to go ahead and try and see if we can't get your video here to come up real quick. Let me see if I can get this.
And there's something I want parents when their kids in foster care to know too before we get off the show.
Sure, absolutely, 100%. Let me see if I can get this doggone thing to work right. There we go. All right, there we go.
So, very thankful that they're doing a child welfare reform here. However, I really think that they need some pointers. Most of these agencies can't tell the difference between an assessment and investigation. They don't know how to describe it, explain it. They don't inform the people of their rights. They violate rights. Like, oh, get out. Like, how in the world is it still conditionally safe? You're either safe or not safe. There's no gray area. Safe or not safe. A safety plan is something that takes immediate effect. North Carolina, throw these stupid safety plans out because nobody knows how to do them. They're 18 pages long. These people are stressed out that we're there. They're trying to chase their kids, but yet we're having them do an initial on every page. Come on now. Be done with that. One page carbon copy. That way, if you give it more than one, you don't have to make another copy. You don't have to have that stress. You write out the plans the same that everybody has. No words are off. Bam, booyah, done. A safety plan is only something that you can monitor at that time. What can you do right now that is going to keep this kid safe? Mom going and getting an assessment in 2 weeks for drug use isn't going to keep that kid safe now, is it? That kid's not going to school. He's 15. He didn't go to school. How does not going to school make him unsafe? You guys are doing safety plans just to have something wrote down. You can't cover your ass like that. You know, this whole state has done nothing but violate people. Well, law enforcement came back and arrested the mom just to cover their ass. So we got to go ahead and remove the kids because law enforcement arrested the mom. First off, what? How does an arrest make a child unsafe? Correct, it doesn't. Let's see. How about let's go with it was 40 days after allegation. Yeah, well, you know what? We're not even going to do that. We're not even going to do that. It happened. Shame on North Carolina, because the goal is always reunification. So if we have an alleged incident and those kids are safe, and we got it, they're in school, so they're visible, they're verbal, there's no the immediate risk, there is none, and they are working with us. That family is working with us, and they are doing great. Even if mom was convicted, we wouldn't remove. We've seen change. They are safe. We have it safeguarded. Why, just because she's arrested, are you going to remove her children? Like, you don't feel like that's traumatizing? Like, now if she was in jail for a long time, okay. But first off, they had no evidence to even arrest her. And ripping up families, you don't think it's traumatizing for those kids? And then you have to go there. What was the immediate threat of harm to where you have to go to somebody's house at midnight? There's not. Especially when they're 17 with a cell phone. 12 with a cell phone. Come on now. I mean, you know, you don't remove kids to cover your ass. You just don't. You don't remove kids because a relative complains. No, sorry, you can't do that. You remove kids when they are not safe. You remove children when all reasonable efforts have been exhausted. We are there to build stronger, better families. We are not there to rip them down. And I have seen that too many times. The poor mom whose kids were in care for 4 years because one county messed up, sent it over to another, and then that law started back over. 4 years. She missed being a mom. She's a good mom. I've been doing this for 14 years. She's a good mom. And, she had an infant that died. And I remember I begged my office. I said, you know what? No. I don't think we should remove. The kids just went back home. I feel like this is a tragedy. How about we utilize grandma or, do something different? And I'll never forget the office attorney said, she's got too many kids. She was too tired. That's why she rolled over on her baby. Wow. So I disagreed with removing this child, and I got kicked out of the meeting. Yeah, kicked out of the meeting because I didn't agree with it. I felt like we should have had a team meeting. They were making assumptions, and I didn't feel like assumptions were needed at this time. I felt like it was a tragedy, and social services should be utilized as a support. Next thing you know, they bring me a petition with my name on it. Better get the fuck out of here with that shit. No, I'm sorry. Sorry, Miss Attorney, but guess what? You are not a criminal attorney in here. You are to make sure that we are doing our jobs, keeping kids safe and not violating rights. And what you just put on here was not true. You said mom has mental health. I'm not a mental health professional, and I never said that. You said that social worker observed her to be overwhelmed. I thought she was a good mom. I didn't observe nothing. You guys said she rolled over on the baby. I told you that I called the reporter and they didn't know anything about that. And the other worker who was out on it, she wasn't even there. Nobody waited. So you fill out a petition that says she can't parent. Bring it to me with my name on it. That's a big no-no, number one. So I wrote my own, of course. With an abundance of caution. I did what the agency wanted, but they kept saying, you represent this agency. You represent... You know what? And I do a good job because I work for the clients. Therefore, that's how I represent the agency. Now, what happened after that is like a big, long, sad story. So, and I'm so over it. So they had this other mom, with the one with the older kids, and 40 days later, they were being harassed. So I emailed the director and said, hey, I feel like the state or somebody should take it over or assist me, because you guys are having meetings with the person who's harassing this mom, and I really want them to have a non-biased approach. The harasser sent my supervisor that mom went to jail a couple days before. Mom went to jail, she got bonded out. There was nothing convicted, there was no evidence, no concrete evidence. The cop did not even interview the mom, the alleged perpetrator, the children, or the aunt that lived in the home. She interviewed the person who was harassing. I refused to remove, but I informed them that mom was arrested. So they took the kids out and put them in a drug house. So, of course, they didn't want me to testify. I got terminated because I did both cases right. The one that I didn't want to remove, that I wrote something nice on, the judge ended up sending those kids back home. Thank God. And that mom is actually getting ready to sue the out of this county. They're not trauma informed. They're not trauma informed. So what I'm doing is, so the director lied. So did the social work program manager. So did my supervisor. I had emails from the school that said the kids were safe. They said that the school had concerns. I had it documented, emailed. It's the thing about paper files here, anything can go missing. I lost my job. They said that a client complained on me. The complaint was July 13th, 2018. I didn't work there. I just moved to North Carolina. And I'm not sitting still with it this time. If I know anything, if I know any right that I have, it is freedom of the press, and I am tired because guess what? My kid ain't here with me now. So I hope that the MSW, the whatever degree, I hope it gets taken away, because this is wrong. If you're lying about your coworkers, what are you doing to your families? I mean, that's a huge question. In North Carolina, they just don't have it yet. But I'm gonna help them out. But not until they revamp that office, because that was wrong. I'm a good social worker. If I would have removed those kids, I wouldn't have been a good social worker anymore. That's the only thing I got. I'm the best. But I gotta quit getting, like, it's just starting to hurt. I ain't gonna lie, it hurts a little bit now.
Yeah, I'll stop that there real quick. Okay, just a few things. Number one, I wanted to ask you this question because I know that there's several parts to it here, and it's going to be kind of complex. Because I know that there are a lot of parents out there right now probably saying, yeah, you know what, but there's no book on how to be a parent. How is it that DSS or CPS is intruding into my life when that's the case, and there's no real book on how to be a parent, and how I parent may be different from parenting, somebody else parenting. That's number one. Number two, the thing that we tell a lot of people is do not sign anything at all. So that number two issue is, do you have that same recommendation, and do not sign anything? So I'll let you answer those two first.
So the first question about there's no book on how to parent.
Right.
You're absolutely right. Like, I sucked so bad. I mean, I put my kids in the crook of my arm and ran them into every doorway possible when they were little on accident, But I think that what it is again, the agency was set up to help people. So, and we did help a lot. Like, I feel like I helped a lot of people. I mean, just because, what's the main thing that gets broken when you have a child? Like relationships, you forget that stuff. Like I always remind people of that. Or it is hard, So of course you want to go over stuff. And when it comes to that, here's the thing. People get stressed out and depressed and they let their house go, or they let something else go, or there is where people lose control, and that would be abuse. And sometimes it's not that we have to go there and remove. We have to go and try to figure out what's your triggers. And when you start to recognize them, then go ahead and call somebody. Like that would be something huge to do. Like go ahead and try to get help yourself. Like parenting is stressful in its own. When it comes to signing anything, I wouldn't sign anything. And that's the thing. They're having them sign stuff that I couldn't even really read just because we had the pages still. I mean, this just happened a month ago. And it would be like, I think it was 8 pages, and you initialed every page, and then you had to sign something. Now, granted, what was the point of that? If you want to know, if they want to make sure that I'm at your house, then you could, a social worker was here, initial that. But I probably wouldn't sign anything either, especially if you're not sure, because you don't know what your rights are, because we don't tell you your rights. So I probably wouldn't sign anything.
Very good.
Yes.
Very good. And Jay, that's something that Karen Materna and I were talking about. If you could do things to change the system, and God, I've got 3 other things here too, plus the twins in North Carolina I want to bring up. But we were talking about it, and this is an attorney, Sarah. And Karen says, Did
you cut off there, Randy? I think you might have cut off.
I didn't cut off.
Okay, you just came back in. You
okay.
A little bit. Go ahead and repeat that.
The thing is with the attorney that we know, Karen Materna, she said, look, if a parent could have representation prior to DSS questioning the children and questioning them, it would be different. But that's one of the places where everything falls apart. Like you said, they have no idea. A parent has no idea of what their rights are. And I'm telling you, in North Carolina, Sarah, everything you'll see in my videos, every time they came at me or any other quote unquote high profile case, they called them, they always did it on a Friday evening after 5. You don't have anywhere to go. And the laws are very clear. If they have 12 hours, like you said, upon removal to get the paperwork. And if it's on a weekend or any part of a weekend, they have 24 hours in North Carolina. But they still don't do it, and they still don't go and get the actual paperwork. But that being said, here are 3 things or 4 things, 3 things right now I'm going to bring up. Number 1, I want to give a shout out to the Manitoba tribe. They have a personal interest in this. They're watching tonight. Now, this is a Native American tribe, just like I'm Native American. North Carolina did not do anything because we were Native. ICWA, they just threw it right out the window. They ignored it. They didn't do anything with it. Number 2, Sarah Stevens, because we talk about Sarah Stevens, but these guys don't know that you've tried to contact Sarah Stevens and what happened about a lot of different issues. And then number 3, which they kind of all go together, but it's about training of social workers in North Carolina. And what do you think about each one of these issues? Because Sarah Stevens should be helping to make sure in her position that there is training, should be making sure that ICWA is followed and constitutional rights are followed, should be making sure that parents know what their rights are. And then before you get off, I'll ask you a situation about some twins, which is a situation that's about to go very, very public. Very public. Believe me, there's some big news on the horizon there. But what is your take on these things with training, ICWA, and especially what was your experience with Sarah Stevens?
Okay, so the reason why I was trying to contact is when I first got here, I noticed a lot of stuff that didn't seem right. One of them was the protective custody, the 12 hours that you're talking about. You get a verbal. I mean, we should have a 33 or a signature or the time. Why would we have 12 hours and we don't even give the parent what time we took custody? I mean, to me, that's a huge red flag and something that somebody way smarter than me should have picked up on. They should have a form. This is the time of the removal. This is the authorized agency doing the removal. And then we take that back and we have 12 hours from that time to write a petition for the judge to sign. Nobody should be taking kids on a verbal, yes, you have permission to take these kids.
Right.
That's crazy. Make law enforcement, able, or physicians or something. So that right off the bat, I would never have done that. And I actually asked that question several times. When it comes to Miss Sarah Stevens, I've heard rumors since like elementary school that we have voices, that all these people fought for our rights and that we can speak and we can be heard. And we start with the representatives and the senators and all this stuff. Well, when's that rumor going to unveil itself? Because right now it's still just a rumor. Nobody answers. Nobody listens. I tried to contact them just about policy and the violating parental rights when I first moved here, just because I wanted to make sure I never did that, or to see if they needed help. I offered to train judges and attorneys. That's the problem with the attorneys here. They don't know child law yet. If you look up under the National Bar Association, it will say you have to put in efforts before removal. But yet the county attorneys for DSS, they're acting, they set up the perfect lawsuit for a parent to sue us with the stuff that they put in these petitions. I mean, they don't know anything about the child law, the child welfare, or the direction it's going in. I don't even watch the news or really pay attention in meetings that much, and I know about the federal law and the direction things are going in. So therefore, like these attorneys and judges, they don't have a clue. They're writing petitions with just the allegation that that's not even why a child came into care, or they're saying a kid has to come into care when it's a criminal thing. They had a high-speed chase. How does that affect the kid? That's a criminal matter. The attorney should be asking again, what services did you provide to keep this child from coming into foster care? What reasonable efforts have been exhausted? So that's a whole flaw in itself. I think the whole attorneys and the judges need to be trained. But of course you can't talk to the judges in North Carolina, which is ridiculous in itself. You can't write a letter. You can't do any of that. And I feel like they should have a foster court improvement. Everybody should meet together. Why aren't we partnering? Why is it just the social service agency removing kids? How come there's not a meeting with it? I'm not around these kids all day. Guess what? Guess who is? Probably the school.
Right.
Why wouldn't I call the school?
Good point.
Why wouldn't they be involved? So therefore, I don't know if that answers some of it, but yeah, I don't think that the paperwork, I don't think any of it is, nobody's listening.
Right.
And they need to start with the training, but they need to have a good trainer, because the trainers don't understand. When I went to pre-service, they don't understand a lot of it.
Exactly. And to follow up with that whole thing of what you're saying, we did hear of a while back of a success because of Sean McMillan in his case, the Right to Lie case. So my thought is you were talking about how files went missing, how supervisors were lying. How is that we're continuing to lie when we've had this take place and it's been found that CPS workers, DCFs, whatever they want to call themselves in different states, why is it that they're still lying in files?
Well, first off, they're doing it because they're making a bad call, and they want to have some of them got issues with power and control, and they need to have,
no doubt.
Yeah, they need to have managers in there who care enough about social work. Like when a social work manager doesn't allow you to put on a parenting class when you offer to do it, or they tell you not to demonstrate anything, that's not a social worker. When all they do is negative, that is not a social worker. So therefore they need to have somebody lead it. And with that being said, it's okay to mess up. It's okay to allow parents to be able to make the decision to protect their kids, because guess what? These stupid safety plans, oh, well, I'm going to supervise at all times. Who the hell can supervise their kid at all times? You leave the door open when you go to the bathroom, you take them in there with you. They're doing unrealistic stuff that sets them up for failure anyways. North Carolina has it like, if you don't have a plan, then you're doing something wrong. No. If they're safe, they're safe. That's the problem here. They do this paperwork. If they're safe, they're safe. And so it all goes from that. It's a disastrous thing that they have here right now, because they don't know. The judges don't know. And they continue to lie because the judges doodle during the trials. And guess what? So the kids are going to remain in custody because nobody was paying attention to the lie that just took place.
I agree. Golly.
Yeah, I agree 100% as well.
Yeah.
And we've had several people talk about these crazy affidavits and all this other stuff. And half the time we see that judges don't even read the affidavits. They really are not paying attention to really what's going on. They're only paying attention to the bonuses they're receiving from the Title IV or D or E funding. They really could care less. And and I say that in a broad spectrum. I'm not saying every single one. I'm saying most that we've come across. Okay. So, and like I say this, I mean, I think that there are good social workers. I think that there are bad social workers. I think they're good attorneys. I think that they're bad attorneys. It's up to you in how you approach it and how you take a proactive approach on your particular case. And so I'm going to go ahead and let Randy go ahead and follow up with some stuff, and Bud as well. And I'll let you go ahead and say the piece that you wanted to say as well before we let you go here, but we're running out of time. So I wanted to make sure that we got you. Bud, go ahead and go real quick, and then we'll go right over to Randy, and then we'll let you go ahead on Sarah.
Thank you, Jay. Sarah, I know Randy is going to follow up with this, but in closing, I appreciate you coming on. I think it's been educational and enlightening for people. I know it's opened some people's eyes. This other perspective is a much needed and beneficial thing. So thank you for taking the time out. Thank you for your candor, your vulnerability, your honesty, and most of all, your heart, Sarah. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. Go ahead, Randy.
Yeah, I just wanted to say thank you so much. And we're going to have, this is only like the tip of the iceberg. We need to get together on some things here in North Carolina, but everywhere else. And the problem is you're very courageous because you've got 13 years experience in a field that in the state of North Carolina, believe me, and probably everywhere else, once you come out and open your mouth, you're going to be targeted. You're on a blacklist from hell right now. It's like every county DSS and social worker option on earth just vanished for you because they do not want anyone who dares come out and say anything. I mean, and that's the shame of it. It's not about the kids. There's so many other things that I had written down to go over from AHEC to child advocacy centers in North Carolina to the actual length of time they're keeping kids and all of the goofy stuff. But I just want to say this. I want to bring light to a situation with the twins. Everybody hears me talk about the twins. And the twins' grandmother's listening right now. That twins' grandmother's about to go wide open public with everything. She's been on as anonymous and everything else. But believe me, there's a media experience set up very, very soon.
You're kind of cutting up a little bit there again, brother.
And UNC diagnosis. Okay, well, that's going to come out with a UNC diagnosis of sexual abuse that was brushed under the rug by Lee County Social Services, brushed under the rug by Lee County law enforcement, the sheriff himself. Their people picked this up from UNC, the diagnosis, and then it didn't end up at the SBI crime lab where it's supposed to. And they placed two little girls, back with a perpetrator of the sexual abuse. It is the most disgusting, sick thing, and there's no way to go into all of this in such a short amount of time. But I just wanted to say, thank you to Sarah for being here, for speaking out, for being different, and for daring to say, you know what, if I lose my job, I lose my job. Because there's so many people watching right now that are saying, my God, I wish I had that social worker. They wouldn't hate social workers if it were that way. So God, hats off to you, Sarah, and thank you for being courageous and coming forward and for adding a different side nobody ever gets to see. They never get to see from the other side. They just get to see from this perspective of I'm a victim.
Right, and before we let Sarah speak, thank you for being what, Jay? Far from
normal, brother.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, go ahead, Sarah.
Well, first off, Randy, I'm hoping to train North Carolina is what I'm hoping to do. I was thinking I'd be blackballed, but you know what? I'm hoping they take it as I take stuff and just it's a learning experience. And the reason why I want to do that is for the state of North Carolina. is because everybody needs help sometimes, and we shouldn't be an agency that's feared. And what I wanted to say is for the parents out there that do have kids in custody, it's not a permanent thing. It's not, and it sucks. I mean, you're missing time, and I don't know the reasons why or anything, but when you do stuff, remember how you wanted your life to be and make your own plan, because it's your life, and go in there with that plan and work hard to get it. Not because of anybody except for yourself, because everybody deserves at least some point in time in their life to be happy and to have their family and to learn how to enjoy their family. And so therefore, like, if anything, take this time now and try to work on everything that you may want. And I know some of you may not have that much stuff to work on, and I get that, but be proactive with it. And when I say that, be on the offense. Go ahead and get every service done imaginable. Find it yourself if you have to get your babies home.
Yeah,
So
100%.
Absolutely.
Yeah, thank you so much, Sarah, for coming on. We greatly appreciate it. I know it took a lot of bravery out there to be I'm going to use the term because nobody else has yet, whistleblower, because
Yes.
it needed to come out. And, you know, we've had other whistleblowers on, and I think that your coming out on this is the same relevance as we've seen other whistleblowers come out on and just say, hey, look, this is a problem, this is wrong, we need to correct it. Not, hey, my job sucked. Yeah.
A social worker advocates for social justice.
Exactly.
And if I didn't, I'm going to be a social worker.
Exactly.
So I'll just be an unemployed one.
Yeah. Yeah. So
wait a minute. Jay's
go
gonna
ahead.
try to
Oh,
do
yeah.
something
I don't
here.
want to cut you off. Go ahead.
Jay, yeah, look at there. There's Bud trying to. He's cock blocking. Okay, because here's the deal. No matter who comes on here, Jay tries to get them off, but there's a rite of passage. Okay, John Schneider, it was Bo Duke, of course.
Oh, it cut out.
Yeah, you cut out on us. Go ahead.
Oh,
He was on, and that's what he's doing. He's knocking me out here. Can y'all hear me?
Yeah,
Don't
I got
tell
you.
me you can't hear me.
We got you.
Okay, you have to say rev it up.
Rev it up.
Yes,
Like-
but you
like-
got to say it with
Like rev it up.
conviction.
Like
Rev it up.
rev it up.
Yes, there we go.
All right.
God, that one was like pulling teeth. Jay's over there blocking me.
I didn't block you. Yeah, it's just a system. I think it's your
Sure.
internet.
Yeah, this was my impersonation of Kermit, but that's none of my business.
All right. Thank you so much, Sarah, for coming on. We greatly appreciate it. And we're going to work with you. We're going to partner with you with the Future of Our Children's Video Network. We're going to try and build something so great that we can get out there for people. And like you said, people need to know what their rights are. Let's educate them as much as we possibly can. So, I mean, education is not legal advice. It's
And
just
hope.
education.
And hope.
I
Yep.
know.
Hope.
Yeah, go ahead, bud.
I was going to say before we go to Sarah, Sarah said this was her first time on camera, and you were absolutely fantastic.
No
Oh,
doubt.
Thank you. Thank you.
Absolutely. Awesome stuff. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah, and we will get back with you really soon. I'm sure we're going to be sending you messages here right after the show, so be ready for them.
All right. Thank you.
All right,
Thank you, Sarah. Bye.
Have a good night. Hey, thank you.
Take
All
care.
right, here. Let me go ahead and I will. It looks like I just stopped the video. I don't know. Let's see here.
Oh,
There we
yeah.
go. Okay,
Yeah,
we've
we're
got
good.
her there, and
There
so
she goes.
awesome stuff. We had a very long chat with her, and I think it was very educational. A lot of you out there got a lot of good advice from an actual social worker, one that was blowing the whistle. What do you think there, bud?
Well, Jay, like Arnold Schwarzenegger, Sarah will be back. We know that because she's a passionate, strong woman. And one of the things she said, Randy, which I thought was important, I know you had the pleasure of speaking with her today, as I mentioned. You spoke very highly. One of the things she mentioned was doing things for yourself, Jay. We talk about that a lot, and that's so important because as we've talked about before, when you're doing things to please other people, to prove something, you're bound to be disappointed with the reaction. Jay's doing something to try and please Bud. He has a vision of how I'm going to react in his head. It's always going to be disappointing. You'll never disappoint yourself if you set these goals for yourself and you're not doing it for anybody but yourself in terms of bettering yourself. As she said, as Sarah said, and she put so well, keep pushing, keep fighting. As they say, Randy, those who think they can and those who think they can't are both usually right, Mr. Rev It Up.
That's absolutely true, guys. Look, no matter what you think, you're right. And the whole deal is, though, you heard it from a social worker, don't sign anything. There is no need to sign anything or to stipulate from that which you have not done. There's just no reason to admit guilt when there's no guilt there. And if you read all the documentation, there's nowhere in there where you need to sign something in order to get services or in order to deny services. You can go along with the case plan without signing it whatsoever. But once you get a case plan, you need to get busy just knocking the stuff out and do it on your terms, not on their terms. Do not file this hokey affidavit foolishness. Do not be claiming opt-in or whatever that West Virginia Fran foolishness is that she's got there with whoever. Don't chase pedophiles and their foolish rantings. And don't start going out here with this sovereign citizen garbage. That's the perfect way to get rid of your kids, your case, and any chance of a future you have with your children. And you heard it from a woman who lost her job. She lost her job doing her job. She lost her job by doing what everybody out there right now with a DSS case is thinking, God, if I'd have had that social worker, if I'd have had Sarah, if Sarah Crow was the one on mine, I would have never lost my kids. I would have never had them taken. I wouldn't be looking at 4 years now, 5 years now without my kids. I'd be with my kids. So the question is, why don't we have more like Sarah? So whatever it is she's doing to try and, she can't get Sarah Stevens to return her call or any of the rest of them she's contacted, but whatever it is she's doing, I say we all get behind her. She may even need to get her own show. That would be if we're looking, Yaya McClain, the black man. We got White Boy Neil. We got White Boy Neil. We got the black guy, Yaya McClain. He's going to be coming on soon. There's no doubt about it. And then we'll get Crazy Crow. She can be crazy Sarah Crow or something, because she stood up against DSS. If you're working for DSS and you don't want to do what they do to steal kids and get money, you're going to get fired. Yep. So she can be crazy Crow. I'm the only normal one here. What?
I think Melissa is disputing that, Jay.
I think I still think he's far from normal, folks.
I think so. As they say, he's a weird dude, but he's a cool dude. We love him.
And speaking of
the basement
that,
with Fran.
Yeah.
Yes.
Speaking of that, since we got these, since I have this T-shirt, we're going to be printing out T-shirts very, very shortly. Randy is going to be spearheading that approach here, and we're going to get advertising out there for the Far From Normal radio show, for all of the programs that we have out there, like the Watchmen. And so we're going to be doing that very, very shortly. What we're going to do is print off some so that we can wear on the show and display them for you first.
We're going to be rocking.
We're going to come forward with all of the orders that you want to take place. And let me tell you something, this is going to be good quality stuff, good quality T-shirts, good quality print at a very, very low price. You're talking about all of these people who do all of these rallies and these other things, and they want to charge $25, $30 a T-shirt. We know that you're going through a hard time and a hard struggle right now. You cannot afford a $25, $30 T-shirt. We're going to get it for you for a very, very, very low cost. And when I say very low cost, I mean extremely low cost. Yeah, like you couldn't even walk into a Walmart and get you a T-shirt for this price.
It's very exciting, Jay. Yeah, we have so much support behind the scenes, and we mention it as we will every week, Randy. to Jackie, Chris, Maria, MJ Rutledge, who is back in the saddle again, and Melissa McDonald. Thank them all behind the scenes working for Far From Normal. Couldn't do it without those folks. It's been awesome, an awesome collaboration. So I know, as you said, Jay, we're going to be rocking the gear so people can see it, and then again, throw it on and get empowered, Jay.
Yeah, 100%. And that's anytime you go anywhere to any of these rallies or any of those things, wear your Far From Normal Radio Show shirt or your Watchman t-shirt, get it out there, because people are going to be like, oh, what's that? You know, that's, and you can tell them all about the show and how Far From Normal is okay. It's okay to be far from normal. That's kind of our slogan here, is it's okay to be far from normal, because there's a lot of people that are going through these hardships, and we'll talk about this probably like 4 minutes, and then we got to get into shout outs. But there's a lot of people that are going through these struggles and these heartaches and this oppression that we all go through with the family court or CPS issues. And I think a lot of people don't know how to take it at first. There is a real process through here. This is not something that you just go into and all of a sudden you start speaking out. This is something that you need to learn, absorb as much as you possibly can. You have to be like a sponge, probably your first 3, 4, 5 years of this process. You need to be a sponge. You need to absorb everything. You need to be in the books, studying the laws and the state statutes as much as you possibly can. You need to know what the CPS codes are. You need to know exactly what they're looking at and why they would act or react a certain way. And you've seen that and you've heard that tonight. Why would they do what they're doing? How are they doing what they're doing? And then you'll know how to react or counter what they're doing. Okay, so this is how we're saying this. This is an evolution. And so when you're evolving in this process, you're creating a brand new life for yourself. And a lot of people don't understand that. They say, oh, well, I can still live the life that I once had. No, your life is different from here on in. You are now far from normal. You're not living the normal life that everybody else is living. You are now living a far from normal life. Okay. So that's what we're talking about when we're talking about far from normal. Yeah. The show was created based on the name of the town that I live in, of course, but far from normal is a lifestyle. It is a lifestyle. It's changing. You are evolving into something else. So I'm going to get here into our last few minutes here, and I'm going to go ahead and get to our shout outs as we normally do every single week here. I'm going to let Bud Vino take it away here. Go ahead, Bud.
Well, yo. Jay Money Moss, Tuesday, March 5th, 2018. This is what we call the depressing part of the show, Jay. The last 10 minutes or so. It's gone by extremely quickly. First of all, thank our guest, Sarah Crazy Crow, as joined her. Thank her for coming on. It was a pleasure. Again, it was educational and empowering. I think it was great. I think a lot of people learned a lot. My brother, as always, Jay Money Moss, cha-ching, and rev it up, Randy Davis. The president never graced us, but as Jay and I said in the pre-show, the president comes and goes. We can't, how can we, I said to Jay at behind the scenes, I said, how can we begrudge a man or besmirch a man who gave us our shot, right, Jay? Mm-hmm. So we can never do. Plus, he's the president. He could just, use our heads as bowling balls. We don't want that. So give a shout out to Neil out there, probably riding the moose. I love you guys. For the people out there, as Sarah was speaking, she talked about tackling your issues head on. And a flower that stops growing dies, right? You never know everything. And as Randy and I talked about today, we kind of laughed and we said, isn't it funny how right when you think everything is lined up perfectly or things are horrid, they turn around in an instant, like we say all the time, and we were kind of laughing about it, but it's so true. So for the people out there, keep growing, keep learning. And as Maya Angelou, the late great, said, you did then what you knew how to do. When you knew better, you did better. So we are starting to know better now, so it's time to do better, rise up. To the people out there, last week we had Yaya, the champ, on McLean. He was talking about how the pain he experienced, one of the biggest and the baddest, and I've seen it all over the movement. So the people out there that are shedding tears and they think that they're down, they think that they're out. Those tears, let them cleanse you. Let them make you reborn. Get up. Again, Jay, it's not over till you say it's over. And I didn't hear no bell. And I want to give a shout out quickly, Jay, to my wife, Allison. I love you, baby. To my 2 boys, I love you, kiddos. Daddy loves you. To my BBC Brook Village crew, Nashua, Aaron, Roberts, Jay, who listens to our show every single week. And all of my crew out there, my Brook Village crew outside of Boston. I love you, folks. Everybody out there, Lenore Arango supporting the show. My brother, Jay Cheshire from John Stark Regional High School, and everybody out there that supports the show and all the folks behind the scenes. We love you. Chins up. Thank you.
Oh, and he gets the cougar tonight. All right, Mr. Randy Davis. And Randy, did you pause on us? Are you there, Randy?
Man, he has that great frozen face again, though, doesn't he, Jay?
Yes, he does. I don't know what happened there, but
The hair is perfect. The smile's perfect. See, last week we were fooled though, because he was off, and then all of a sudden he was like, "Oh, I'm here."
Yeah, well, yeah, I don't know what's going on with that.
Well,
Obviously,
quickly,
it's
Jay,
pausing on him. Maybe North Carolina's getting a little rain again, so
Yeah,
hopefully
that could
he'll
be
join
fun.
back in here.
If he doesn't get back on, I will say, as I said earlier, Randy spoke with Sarah quite a bit today, so I want to thank Randy
Mhm.
and Melissa McDonald for taking the time. Jay was
Yes.
indisposed today.
Mhm.
It all came together, as I said. Randy, it looks like, has been booted
Yeah,
off.
it did boot him off.
Yeah, so Randy and Melissa behind the scenes took a lot of time. And Jay, as we say all the time, it always comes together. We never worry too much about that anymore because, again, it all comes together as it's supposed to. And Jay, everything happens for a reason. The folks out there, again, everything is the way it's supposed to be. So just stay the course. Keep loving, Jay. Keep loving. Don't hate. Is as easy as it can be to do to hate. Keep loving. Keep your chin up. Keep moving forward.
Exactly. And I'm sure he may try and get back on, but if it doesn't allow him here, we'll just keep going, and I'll keep thanking a whole lot of people that are behind the scenes here that make the Far From Normal radio show and the Watchmen and everything happen there. Alan Poindexter did some amazing work for us out there with some graphics for Normal Studio Productions. He may or may not be helping us on some other things here in the future as well. So definitely a big shout out to Alan Poindexter and the crew that he has over there. He does a lot of graphics for a lot of different companies. If you're in the North Carolina area and need some graphics done, definitely go ahead and get a hold of Alan Poindexter. I'm sure that he can go ahead and help you with those. Also want to thank Maria. Maria does an amazing job for us behind the scenes. She really controls a lot of the stuff behind the scenes with the Watchmen. We go ahead and all I have to do is start the show, and evidently, you know, every once in a while fill in for Randy if something's going on with his microphone and stuff behind the scenes. But other than that, Maria really does a whole lot of the control of the show and doing the research and the vetting for even the Far From Normal radio show. She's an amazing person behind the scenes.
Yeah.
We have some amazing people that do a whole lot of vetting for us in different shows. Unfortunately, we didn't do a whole lot of vetting tonight, but we definitely will in the future. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, it worked out, and what I wanted to say, it worked out well tonight. And to your point, what I wanted to say, Jay, is I said it to Allison. You mentioned the people like Maria behind the scenes, and I'll say it to you, Jay. Isn't it such a wonderful thing after the amount of time we've done the show, as you were today? I know indisposed in knowing that things are going to be handled and confidently. And you know, it's just such a wonderful feeling. And I know even within the group, you can feel it. You can feel it. We're all pulling together. It's just really clicking right now, Jay. And again, we're getting a lot of positive feedback on the show, and we so appreciate that. Again, Jay, we said in the beginning, if we can help one person, that one person can change the world, Jay. That person's you out there listening.
That's right. That's right. Definitely want to thank a few other people as well. Jacqueline Janelle, obviously MJ's been with us for a very, very long time. We're glad to have her back in the fold. Chris, definitely want to thank Allison and Melissa, big supporters, and those who get coffee for a few people.
That Allison,
the
she's
scenes.
all right. That Allison,
Yeah.
we'll keep her around. You'll keep her around.
She's a keeper. All right.
Yeah.
So definitely want to thank a whole lot of people that are behind the scenes, especially WBN, which we call White Boy Neil, and definitely OC, Old Krusty, Randy Davis, and definitely my brother from another mother, Mr. Bud Vino, who took the reins today as I was out and indisposed and got some things done. We love these people and everything that they're doing, and their hearts are in it 100%. And let me tell you, I don't know if I've had a better crew, period.
Nope.
And
all the way around. Yeah.
Yes. And these are people who really want this thing to take off, and it's going to take off, folks. So this is the train. Get on board.
Yes, and before we go out, Jay, one last thing. We would be remiss if we didn't mention Mark Ludwig, Americans for Equal Shared Parenting. We love you, Mark. Big news this past week. Go on the American for Equal Shared Parenting national page. Go check it out. Mark works tirelessly for this movement and for men and women, and especially the children out there. Mark is a great ambassador, and on a personal level, he's a wonderful, loving, strong, amazing man. Proud to know him. Proud of the progress. Everybody out there, keep going. As you mentioned, Jesse West Sr., Springfield, Illinois, March 16, 2019. Dads can too. And we're just keeping on rolling, Jay. Keep rolling.
Yes, absolutely, 100%. And I want to tell everybody this before we go for sure. There are a lot of other programs or maybe a lot of other groups out there who may or may not support 50-50 shared parenting. Let me explain it this way. We support 50-50 shared parenting for fit and loving parents. That is how we word this, because yes, there are a lot of situations. Well, I don't know if my husband or my ex-husband, he was a domestic abuser or whatever. Okay, we said this: fit and loving parents. That is the issue behind the scenes that we say this. And remember, Mark even says it this way: there is a rebuttal presumption of 50-50 custody. Okay, that rebuttal presumption is that you have fit and loving parents. Okay, so that's what we truly believe behind the scenes. And I want to say this here before we leave, as we say every single week: you are important, you are loved, and you are cared about. God bless and good night, folks.
Jesus, wrap it up.
Can you hear the wind that's howling through the concrete trees? Got you praying on your knees. In the face of danger we're all brave, till the gun goes bang, bang, bang. It's a cruel, cruel world. No mercy left, yeah, it's a cruel, cruel world. It'll break your heart and burn you down, down, down. Don't ever doubt that it's a cruel, cruel world. Oh, it's a cruel, cruel world. Smoke will turn your soul to black if you let it in. So close the door, confess your sins. Oh, when I was younger, it was all roses. Now the dead and gone away. It's a cruel, cruel world. No mercy left, yeah, it's a cruel, cruel world. It'll break your heart and burn you down, down, down. Don't ever doubt that it's a cruel, cruel world. Oh, it's a cruel, cruel world. Oh, can you help me? I can trust right now. Oh, can you help me? Oh, can you help me out? Oh, it's a cruel, cruel world. It's a cruel, cruel world. No mercy left, yeah.